Tonight, a crime tracker alert: a rash of car break-ins and thefts has some people furious. They say they've locked their cars, but thieves are still getting inside while they're sleeping.
Young intruders have stolen a Mercedes-Benz.
Car thefts are a big problem in Pinellas County. More than 1,000 cars were stolen in St. Petersburg alone.
All week long, we've been reporting on an epidemic of smash and grab robberies, but it doesn't stop there. Our Rich McHugh shows us how car thefts are increasing.
Well, Michael's rare and much-loved Holden was stolen and stripped for parts by an alleged syndicate.
These three items could be the key to stopping automotive theft for your car. They're cheap, easy to apply, easy to use, and they will help keep your car yours. Here's some more information about how these things are going to protect you and your car. All right, guys, so like you heard there in the beginning, now more than ever, automotive theft seems like it's just on a rampage. And today we're going to go over a bunch of different items you can do on your Corvette, your Ram TRX, or really pretty much any car you own that will help keep it secure, help keep it in your possession. That's the big thing here. Automotive theft sucks. I've actually had a couple friends who have experienced it firsthand, and it's more than just having something stolen from you. It feels like you've been violated. So today, like I said, we're going to talk about a bunch of different items that you can get on the cheap to protect your car. Let's talk about it. All right, so unfortunately, the Corvette is not immune to this problem. The C7 and C8 Corvettes I've seen getting stolen left and right, it seems. But today we're going to be talking about something that will apply to any one of your cars. And there's a bunch of different items that you can do, a bunch of different things you can do to make sure your cars are safe and secure. And some of these things are not super expensive. Even though we are kind of talking about the Corvette, we're going to start by talking about the Ram TRX because that's one of the most stolen vehicles out there. So let's talk about what you can do to your Ram to protect it. And a lot of this stuff is kind of universal. So let's start with the Ram. But before we talk about any specific vehicle, let's talk about some universal things that you can do to help protect your vehicles even without purchasing anything. The biggest one being a really simple one, and that is keeping it in a garage. I know it's not an option for everybody out there, but the number one step you can do, the number one precaution you can take is make sure your Corvette, truck, SUV, doesn't matter what kind of car, is stored in a garage where obviously you can lock the doors or the garage door openers themselves keep the doors locked. In my situation, I have the car in the garage, of course. The garage door openers obviously keep it locked, but up at the top you can clearly see both of my garage door openers have a camera on it to view, live view what's going on in the garage, and there's also a camera back there to make sure that everything in the garage is staying in the garage. So, first step, garage it if you can. If you can't, understandable, but this is definitely one of the best ways to prevent theft. The second one is going to be a really interesting one because you wouldn't think it, but having a loud exhaust on your vehicle is a really good anti-theft method because if someone starts this truck or that car in the middle of the night, there is not a chance in hell they're getting away with it before I hear it or before my neighbors hear it. These trucks and cars are very loud, so this is kind of a theft deterrent in itself.
Modified exhaust systems serve no purpose other than to create fear, chaos, and intimidation.
Hey, how about that? Loud exhausts do serve a purpose. Not pictured here, but the next theft deterrent would be a manual transmission. I have a C7 Corvette ZR1 that is a manual transmission, and believe it or not, that is a theft deterrent. Nowadays, it's very unlikely that the person trying to break into your car has any idea how to drive a stick, so yeah. Your manual transmission is actually a theft deterrent. If they shatter the window, see that stick sitting there instead of a automatic gear selector, they're probably going to walk away. So that is going to do it for the freebies. The next set of items here are going to cost you a little bit of money, but we're going to try to keep it on the cheap and also on the convenient end. Because remember, if it's convenient, it isn't secure. So at the end of the day, all the items on this list are going to make your drive or your car a little less convenient, unfortunately. It's just the way it is. Even when it comes to parking your car in a garage, it is a little less convenient because you got to open the doors, you got to pull in and pull out versus just jumping in the car and going. So everything that adds security adds a layer of inconvenience. But we're going to try to keep the inconvenience to a minimum. it is what it is. So like I said, we're going to start with the TRX. Obviously, you guys know the Ram TRX is one of the more easily stolen vehicles because of the fact that a key can be programmed to it. I'm not going to get into the specifics. I don't really want to make this a how to steal a Ram TRX video, but at the end of the day, it can be stolen relatively easily, and that is why one of the very first items I purchased for the truck was a taser, or a taser device, we'll say, because it's not your actual taser where you can shock somebody.
Magnavolt.
Even though if you're caught trying to steal my truck, that's kind of what I would want to do to you, but that's not what this is. So the taser device plugs into the OBD2 port and it locks the gas pedal out unless you unlock it with this specific key. So I lock it with this key and unlock it with this key. If this truck is unlocked any other way other than this key, it will lock out the gas pedal to the point where you will not be able to drive it. So you'll get in, start it up, however it is that thieves do it, and then they're not going to be able to actually give the truck any gas. It won't move. So unless they have a way of towing it, which would be pretty tough in most situations because of how big this truck is, they're not going to be able to do it. Now, the way this works is I'll unlock the truck, and normally you'll see the amber lights flash to indicate that the truck is unlocked, but in my case, they're going to flash twice, and you're going to actually hear the fuel pump and the accelerator kind of re-enable. So here's the first unlock. And see how it flashed again there at the end? That's to indicate that the truck has received the unlock signal from the same remote it got the lock signal from and now is ready to go. So same kind of thing if I lock it. That's to tell me the gas pedal basically is now non-functional. That's just step number one. Now, step number two, we've also taken with the Ram TRX and the C8 Corvette, is a solar performance throttle controller. So what you can do in there is actually go into the app and disable the gas pedal. And these are just the methods that I'm using. There are obviously other methods we'll talk about at the end of this video that you could get into as well, but these are just my methods. The third method on the TRX and on the Corvette is going to be an Apple AirTag for tracking purposes. This is what your typical AirTag looks like. As you can see, it's small, about a coin-sized shape, and it provides really, really nice, up-to-date tracking of whatever you stick this item to. Now, by itself, it's about the size of a coin, and that's it. So you could take these and toss them into your car, into the glove box, into the trunk, the frunk, whatever you think. The problem with that is the way these are set up nowadays, the person driving the car that doesn't have these paired to their phone will get an alert eventually that they have an AirTag following them. So they're going to know you have an AirTag in this car somewhere. That's where things get interesting because you can do a bunch of different things to defeat this. If you wanted to go crazy and on the TRX especially throw, 4 AirTags in there, I may or may not have done that, then they're going to find one and think that they've won, if they find any, because I have a really cool way of hiding these we're going to talk about. I'm not going to show you exactly where I put mine for obvious reasons, but I'm going to give you a couple different places where you could stick an AirTag to keep track of your vehicle. Obviously, right now I only have the C8 Z06 and my Ram TRX to show you, but I do have them on my ZR1 as well, because you never freaking know. And that is where these guys come in. So these are called Tag Vault Surface, and they are indestructible AirTag stick-on mounts. These are really cool. They're waterproof with a little rubber seal inside, and they can stick anywhere you put them. So these will be going on the outside of the car. That way, the person that might be stealing your car is not going to hear them making noise or anything like that. They're just going to know at some point that it's following you, but they're not going to know how many are following you. So that's where things get interesting. And of course, everything we're talking about today is going to be in the description down below. So if you want to grab any of these items for your own theft protection, check out the links down below, guys. So this is the tag vault. As you can see, the AirTag would go in here, and this little cap will screw down on top of it, and you can see that little weather seal in there. Screws down on top of it, and then once it's screwed together, you got some 3M VHB, very heavy bond tape, that you can stick anywhere on your car. So let me go over some of those places where you could stick it. Like I said, I'm not going to show you exactly where I've stuck mine, but there's a bunch of places on the C8 you could put these. All right, so C8 Corvette Z06, or even just the Stingray, one of the first places I thought about was actually putting it right behind the fuel door. So if you pop open the fuel door, there's enough room there, you could stick it to the back side of the fuel door, and no one's really going to see that until a potential thief stopped to get gas, we'll say. So I didn't go that route. The other option would have been actually coming back here And taking off your license plate, right behind there, there's a nice indent where you could easily stick it right there to make it so no one would ever hear it, see it, or anything, but it would still be following the car. Outside of that, you've got a bunch of places, of course, in the engine bay you could put it, because this little device here is also going to help keep the AirTag cool, so it's not going to overheat by being in your engine bay or anything. You also have the side intake vents. If you reach your hand in there, you can go real high up or real far back where you're never going to see that AirTag. You could put them in there. You could put them underneath the side skirt here. You could put it in the frunk. That was one thing I thought heavily about, was actually putting it in the frunk and removing all the trim around the frunk, sticking it somewhere near the battery, and then putting the trim back in place. These are things that potential thieves are not really going to think about even checking. So there's a million places you could put it, and we haven't even really started to factor in the underside of the car. You could easily stick it to the metal plate that protects the transmission under there that has cutouts for where the oil goes and stuff. Just reach your hand up in there and stick it on the top side of that. No one's ever going to see that. These are fully waterproof, so getting wet or covered in snow or anything like that is not going to be a problem. So these can literally go anywhere. Now, this is if you want to go crazy with it and you don't want to just shove it in the glove box. Now, on the Ram TRX, we have a lot of the same kind of options. You can pop the hood. There's a million places under the hood you could put it. You could go under the truck, in between the cab and the bed. So this giant gap right here, you could easily stick it way in there. No one would ever be able to see it. The fuel door, again, it would be a really decent idea until they were to stop to get gas. Of course, you have the entire bed, and also on this truck as well, if you take off the license plate, there's a gap back behind there. You could also stick it. You could stick it inside of your trailer hitch here if you're not using it. The options are pretty much endless here, but the one that I really liked, and this is actually where I may or may not have one of mine, is on my wheel. These big center caps here, they come out, and on the back side, they're hollow. So you can literally stick an AirTag to the back side of that center cap and then bolt it back on. No one is going to find that. One item I did forget to mention that I use on my C8, Z06, and my TRX is the Hyperion RFID blocking case. Now, in this case, it is all aluminum construction with a magnetic top. When you pop the top off here, you can actually take the key, put the key in, or take the key out. As you see, I actually have my TRX key in there. And what that does is that actually will block the communication from your key fob to the truck. That's actually what a lot of thieves are stealing, is that communication between the remote and the truck. They can intercept that with a device to then allow them to just unlock your truck as if it was using an actual key that was programmed to your truck. So if you keep your key while you're at a shady place in this case like this with the magnetic top on, which like I said, guys, these things are made really nicely, but basically that's it. Now your key is protected, and it is another layer of security. So again, these are something that actually works really well, and it's kind of a passive theft deterrent. You just put your key in there, nothing else has to change. Hyperion actually sponsors the channel quite frequently, so check out the link in the description down below to get these things for a little bit of a discount just for being a horsepower obsessed fan. But these things are really stout, really nicely made. There's no way you're crushing this, stuff like that. So you could literally keep these things anywhere you go with your car and just pop it in there whenever you go to sleep at night, just to make sure that nothing's happening outside of your hotel room or anything like that. Really a great option right there. Now, if you were to come onto your phone here, you can clearly see all of these things are stored on my phone. So I have my C8 Z06, my book bag that has my laptop in it a lot, my Ram TRX, and even my wallet. So, and Amber and I did obviously some luggage here at one point. Now, there are a couple things that aren't listed on here right now because I haven't actually activated them yet, but once I do, all of what you activate will be on here. Now, if I select the C8 Z06, I'm going to do this off screen because my address is shown. I can hit play sound. Oh yeah, you can actually hear it. So my AirTag is on that car on the outside. So you can hit play sound. That would help you find something like, you know, your set of keys or something. But in this case, the sound doesn't really do anything for you. It is just really nice to be able to come in here and easily share contact info. So you can literally share this with other people to help you find it, basically share location. You can have it notify you if the car were to move from your house. So I have that turned off right now because that would get kind of annoying. But basically, if it moves out of your garage or anything, it would alert you on your phone, as well as the fact, like I said, this car is really freaking loud, so there's no way someone's moving this car from my house without me knowing. But we could also report it lost at this point and allow other people to see it, but that's, worst case scenario. So ultimately what this is going to do is it's going to let you track your vehicles, and for some reason, if it's not where it needs to be, you can literally locate it and go find it and help the authorities find it as well. Now, my C8 Corvette Z06 also has a throttle controller in it from Solar Performance, like I said, so I can go in there and disable the gas pedal as well. And the gas pedal power plug is hidden pretty well behind carpet. So again, unless you know it's there, it's going to be very difficult and very time consuming for a thief to get in the car and think that they're going to drive away with it. They're going to get in and that gas pedal is not going to work. They're not going to have any idea what's going on unless they have full knowledge of what the Solar Performance throttle controller is doing. And they have to dig through that carpet to find it, disconnect it, and plug the stock one back in. All of which is going to slow them down. And that's really the best you can ask for in this anti-theft stuff. If someone really wants your car, they're probably going to get it. The best we can do is slow them down and make it inconvenient for them. Outside of the items that I just told you about, these are the items I have on my cars to help me ensure that they remain mine. So the Z06 has an AirTag, maybe two, I'm not going to tell you how many, but it has at least one AirTag, and it also has a performance throttle controller that I can disable the gas pedal on. It's also got a very loud exhaust, and it's stored in a garage all the time. The Ram TRX has also a very loud exhaust, stored right beside my house in a way that my bedroom is located very closely to it, so it's really not going to be something that's started without my knowledge. It has at least 3 AirTags, maybe more, and it also has the taser device that disables the gas pedal and the Solar Performance one that disables the gas pedal. So that truck is pretty protected as well. Another one, of course, with any one of these two cars would be a dash camera of some kind. So I have a dash cam in the TRX that can be set up to record at any kind of motion, or especially if something were to bump in the vehicle, you can actually have it start to record even when the car's not on. So it would record that kind of information. There are some dash cameras out there that will actually record that information and upload it to the cloud. That way you have that proof and that visible face possibly of the person stealing the car on your phone, even if you don't have the truck or car available. Now, I don't have a dash camera like that in the Corvette because, again, I keep it in the garage, but I do have my PDR set to record anytime the car's running. So even though I wouldn't be able to get that information back immediately, it would be something that's on that PDR if the car was ever ditched after they found out about the AirTags. So dash cams are a good idea if you're okay with setting that all up to record to the cloud, because that would be probably the most significantly beneficial way. Now, do you want to take it a step further? Do you want to get it even crazier? Okay, let's talk about some of the stuff that's available. We can start with some of the more tried and true methods, some of the things that have been around forever, and that's going to be your steering wheel club. So you can actually put a club on the steering wheel that, again, if someone really wants it, can be relatively easily defeated. They either pop the steering wheel off or just cut through the club. You can put that on any car. So it doesn't have to be the Corvette or the TRX. You can put that on any car that has a steering wheel, and they're relatively inexpensive and fairly easy to use. But again, what we're doing here is slowing them down. With the Ram TRX specifically, we can also get a device called the IGLA device, which is really a crazy security device that would be very hard to ever crack or ever even really get through. But it is a security theft device available for the TRX, and I think a couple other cars as well. But ultimately, that is like top tier end game kind of protection, where it's more intrusive, less convenient, and something you're really only going to want to do if you live in an area where TRXs are getting stolen a lot. Another item you can use on the Ram TRX or the Corvettes, and I actually might be getting this device here pretty soon, is a remote operated starter relay. So you plug this relay into your fuse box on both the truck and the car, and they will not start unless you press a remote button on a fob that comes with it. So basically that fob allows the relay to be enabled and then have the vehicle start. And the way it's set up is it actually automatically closes or automatically shuts off the relay when you shut off the car. So that button has to be pressed every single time to start the car. If you're trying to steal this car and you don't have that fob, you are not going to get it started. Now again, this is something that the thief could potentially know about. So if they do know and they go in there and they pop that out and put in the stock fuse instead, then they're still going to be able to defeat these anti-theft items, but we are slowing them down and making it inconvenient for them. And that is that's really the name of the game, because if you slow them down enough, someone is going to catch them. Someone's going to stop them before they steal your car, whether it's you or a bystander. Again, my favorites are the AirTags, the Solar Performance Throttle Controller, and on the Ram TRX, the Taser device, the AirTags, the Solar Performance Throttle Controller. That's what I have on my cars currently. If we want to take it to the next step, I am going to eventually get those key fob operated relays for the starter that will really kind of take it to the next level and still have at least a little bit of convenience left to it. I don't want to go with the IGLA system for the Ram TRX because I feel like that starts to get a little too intrusive. I mean, you're cutting into wiring and all that stuff at that point. And in my personal opinion, I don't know that that's worth it for me because I don't live in an area where theft is a huge problem, but I do drive these cars around a lot to the point where maybe I would get into that kind of situation. So anti-theft stuff is, of course, a deterrent, preventative measure. We're not doing this because I've had the car stolen already. At that point, it's too late. But ultimately, guys, I wanted to make this video because really I found these AirTag vaults that were really cool. Like I said, they're watertight, so you can kind of install them wherever you want. So throwing the AirTag in the glove box where someone's going to definitely find it at some point is just kind of stupid when you can literally stick them anywhere. These are really going to help in the situation where if your car was ever stolen, you'll be able to help track it with the authorities. Now, another thing I've actually heard a lot on these is that people who steal your car and get the alert on their phone that they have an AirTag following them, a lot of those people will ditch the car, literally park it somewhere, jump out, and just leave because they know that they're caught. That by itself is a gigantic win. So if that were to happen, now your car is located somewhere where you can find it. The person has stopped literally trying to steal it and they're gone, and now you can go recover it. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there are going to say, well, if someone steals my car, I don't really even want to recover it. You know, that's kind of one of those situations where you're on one side of the fence or the other, because if someone stole like my Z06, odds are good the car is going to be in perfect shape until they get to their destination. So if they hear that one of these AirTags is following them and they ditch it, odds are good I'm getting into that car in perfect condition again. Worst case scenario, the window's smashed. Not a big deal. I got my car back. That's awesome. I've had a lot of people asking me lately about theft control and things that I would recommend. That's the biggest reason I wanted to make this video. Biggest reason I wanted to talk about some of the cooler items available out there, like this AirTag vault and just using the AirTags in general, because probably 90% of my viewers out there, you guys are probably using iPhones. And even if you're not, you don't have to necessarily use an AirTag. There's options like this out there for the Android phones as well. So if you didn't want to use an AirTag, I'll link stuff down below for the guys out there using Android phones. They make things just like this, same kind of tracking devices that are super small like that for your Android phones as well. This is not limited to just iPhones, it just so happened to be what I use, so this stuff came in handy for me, and I thought it would be cool to make a video to show you guys exactly how to set this stuff up. Super easy to set up, by the way. You pull the tag out of this and it activates the battery, and then your phone automatically finds it. It's literally, you don't have to do anything for setup, but sticking it in that little AirTag vault and then putting it wherever you want on your car, which is the only part I didn't want to show you guys because I don't want the locations of where I'm putting this stuff out there on the internet. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. There are a couple different little security items out there, but those are the ones that I would recommend on your cars. That's going to keep you the safest for the cheapest and on the least side of inconvenient. So if you liked what you saw, guys, please smash the thumbs up. Let me know you're liking the content. YouTube really likes to see those thumbs ups, so it will help circulate the video. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And as always, guys, stay obsessed.